Welcome to the show, Durga McBroom. You are an actress, dancer, and singer. You've performed with the likes of Pink Floyd as a backing vocalist, along with your sister Lorelei. In actual fact, you were the only backing vocalist to remain with them consistently from 1987 right the way through till 1994. You've also performed with Brian Wilson, Carole King, and Michael Bolton, to name a few. In the late 80s, you formed the band Blue Pearl, and you've had several hit songs, including the very famous Naked in the Rain track that I'm sure everybody has no doubt heard before. It's fantastic to have you on the show with us, Doug. Thank you so much for joining us, and please do tell us more.
Wow. Well, you've rounded it up pretty well there. Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to back up quite a few people. In fact, I was on a very groundbreaking album that did not get enough credit, which was Billy Idol's Cyberpunk. I'm on several tracks on that album. And now I am kind of the brand ambassador. I work often as the special guest with a lot of Pink Floyd tribute bands all over the world. In fact, in November, I'm off down south to Argentina and Chile.
Wow.
And so it's great making music.
Absolutely. Fantastic.
Do you make your own music?
Yes, of course I do. Yeah, Blue Pearl has actually recorded a second album and trying to find a home for it. And I do a lot of sessions. I have a setup right here in my house in Rome where I do vocals remotely. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually writing my autobiography right now. So that's really kind of exciting me. That's a lot of fun because I got some stories.
I like sticking to hearing what you're doing.
Well, I do write some stuff on my own. I like to write with other people. But as I said, the main thing that in terms of music writing that I've been doing is finishing the Blue Pearl album.
What kind of music is it?
Well, Blue Pearl is a kind of deep house, kind of iconic house music band. Yeah. And we also got into a little more of a techno sound in the early 90s. Right. So there's some trancey stuff. There's some deep house stuff. Like that.
And the audience is that what they call rave, the rave parties and stuff?
Yeah, we did a lot of that. I mean, Blue Pearl came out in 1989, which was the UK Summer of Love. Yeah, I have some great memories of the Turbo Field at Glastonbury that year.
Oh, wow.
People, arms up in the air.
Yeah.
And so, and at some pretty big clubs in London and things like that.
Great. Do you write social conscious music?
Yeah, I do. I feel like anything that's telling the truth is pretty socially conscious. I do to kind of extend it to speaking on some social issues. I actually released a single a couple of years ago called American Big Top when Trump was first elected.
Oh, good.
Yeah, which was pretty vicious. So, yeah, and in fact, people don't realize that Naked in the Rain was actually not about like just a rave scene. The lyrics say, I'm in over my head, fire fills me hot and red, raging like a blood red sun, fire fueled by deeds undone, burning and I just can't wait to give a helping hand to fate, change this crazy world around, but first we gotta cool down.
How about that?
Yeah.
You're absolutely right, because I mean I've listened to that track so many times through the 90s and danced to it a ton of times, but didn't really take note of that lyrical content. Yeah, absolutely right.
In the second verse, smoke is in my eyes, drifting from the burning cries of those who have no strength to stand against the fire in the land. Come and wash away the pain, step into the blessed rain, cool the fire in your soul, the rain will make you whole. So it's not just about having enough, a rave. Yeah. It's basically, I was seeing so many things. I mean, I had just moved to the UK, basically, and I was seeing like the news in the US is very insular. And it was very, wasn't really being exposed to a lot of worldwide news. Until I moved to the UK, and then I was watching the BBC and things like that. and I was seeing all these horrific things that were going on all over the world that I had no clue about.
Right.
And I was overwhelmed. And I thought to myself, well, how are we going to deal with this? And I realized, well, the first thing that we got to do is cool everything down. I cannot rationally address the mayhem and the chaos in the world from a place of chaos and mayhem in my soul. I need to be calm in order to look at everything rationally and figure out how are we going to unweave this tangled web that we're in.
This is social conscious music.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Of course.
Which is not something I would have when I was sort of dancing to it, whatever. I'm sure the audiences in the kind of scene perhaps don't really appreciate the kind of level of social consciousness that track has.
Nah, man, it's stealth, mate. It's stealth. You got to slip that in. You know, when they're all rolling on ecstasy and all that, just kind of get that in their consciousness so that subconsciously they are experiencing what I'm saying. And I think that's partially why the track did so well, because people experienced it on several different levels.
Yeah.
How does it feel to you that you would write some lyrical content in this social conscious fashion and to see music lovers in front of you singing those lyrics back to you?
It's pretty amazing, quite frankly. I mean, I remember one night at the Fridge, and who was it? Paul Oakenfold debuted our single Mother Dawn. And okay, so the story behind that song was Youth and I, basically, Youth is the producer on the Blue Pearl songs. We blagged a trip to India off the label. We got them to pay for it because we went and we recorded some stuff in Mumbai, which was such, that was an experience because for each instrument, you have a different producer. Yeah. So we had tablas, we had sitar, we had all this, and each one had a different producer, and it was very, very different. And then we had, so we did that for 2 weeks, and then we spent a month in Goa because the new Blue Pearl album was meant to be a lot more on the techno side. And you said, look, man, if you want to understand techno, you've got to go to Goa, man. So we went to Goa for a month. And there was one night, a lot of people would have these like sunrise parties where basically you would go to sleep early, you'd wake up at midnight, go to the party, take some acid, and then as the sun was rising, everybody's tripping and, you know, dancing, and as you do. And so we went to this place way out in the middle of the jungle, and we rode our little scooters there. So, you know, we were coming up, we were tripping balls basically, and looking around, and we started noticing all these people, and they're like gurning and faces and these bizarre rictus, and it just was not the thing. Yeah. So my boyfriend and I looked at each other and we need to get out of here. So we had no idea how to get back to Anjuna where we were staying. So this one girl goes, oh, well, I know how to get back. And so we all set out on our scooters, and I'm talking, we're in the jungle, in the middle of the jungle. Oh, so there are no streetlights. At one point we're riding through like rice paddies. So basically, you know, there are like these berms that are these raised dirt separations between these deep basins where the rice is growing. Okay. And, you know, in between each one, there's this narrow dirt path. So we're speeding full throttle along one of these things. And my brain, you know, I'm tripping. And all I can do is focus on her taillight because there's no light anywhere else.
Right.
And so I'm thinking like that scene in Star Wars when they're doing the Death Star run. So one part of my brain is going, we could die, stay on target, but I could break my leg, stay on target. If I fall off, I could die, and then we'll get an ambulance, stay on target. And so I just had to focus on her taillight.
Stay on target.
Yeah, stay on target. So she got us through that, got us back to our house. She's like, bye, and she drove off. And the minute we turned off our bikes and the headlights went out, we were plunged into pitch black.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I'm trying to walk into the house, kind of imagine, because I'd seen where the door was before I turned the light on. And I'm like imagining these spirits on either side of me, and some were trying to be helpful, and some were like these mischievous little sprites, like pulling on my braids. And so we got to the doorway and looked inside, and it was just this blackness inside the house. And we were like, nah, man, nah, son, I ain't going in there.
Right.
And we went up onto the roof terrace to await the dawn.
Right.
And we were laying there looking up at this blanket of stars because it was so dark. It was like behind me, what you see in this filter.
Yeah.
Right.
Stars everywhere. And I focused on a satellite making its elliptic orbit around the bottom of the Horn of like India. And I could feel the earth rotating beneath me as I watched it going overhead. It was really profound. Yeah, I was tripping, but still. And then the minute the sun started to rise, the neighbor's rooster started going off, and there was this explosion of life. And that's where I came up with Mother Dawn.
Wow.
Okay.
Hold me, hold me, hold me, breathe the light into me. Hold me, Mother Dawn, Mother Dawn. And that's the track.
And it got beat to it, right?
Oh yeah, that's when the beat dropped right after that. And watching Paul Oakenfold put on this track at the Fridge, and like 5,000 people, or however many people, there was a lot of people. They all put their hands in the air. Hold me, breathe the light into. And I was like, that's my song.
Amazing. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Wow, what a feeling.
That's the most incredible.
That's a good feeling.
When you see other people out there singing your lyrics.
Yeah. No, but even more than that, I went on when I did Cyberpunk with Billy Idol. He wanted to do a duet with me, and we were listening. I was like, nah, not that one, not that one. He's like, well, I really like this song of yours. I like this one. And he put on Mother Dawn. And he said, well, why don't we do this one? And I was like, really? So we recorded a duet of my song, and hearing Billy Idol's voice singing my lyrics, dancing round the fire, circling the flame. I was like, that's my lyrics in Billy Idol's voice. That was pretty cool. Oops. And I also did a new version or re-release of Can You Feel the Passion, which was one of the other big Blue Pearl singles. And I released it on Boy George's label. Okay. And I asked George, will you sing on my song? And he very graciously agreed.
Oh, wow.
So Boy George is doing backing vocals on my song.
Oh. And
when I heard him just break out, can you feel the passion? I'm like, Boy George's voice on my song. So yeah, I fangirled a little bit. I love George. He is such a lovely human being. I adore him.
I was in my hometown, and I wrote a song with Al Jarreau, right?
Oh, wow.
And Al Jarreau, he says, I'm about to do this song, and that brother right there sitting there, he wrote it. I was done. I'm in my hometown. I'm in my hometown, and all my friends like, damn, Skyler, you didn't tell me you was messing around with Al Jarreau and all that. But this is wonderful. Listen, thank you so much for taking the time today to come on our show.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I know there's some stories, so we're going to have you back. Most definitely. And Tom's going to get all your information. And
I'll ask a quick another question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Just want to know, obviously, there's been such a long association for you with Pink Floyd. Where did that come about? Is it just because they initially got you and then they liked your voice on the tracks and kind of kept having you, or why such a long association with them?
Well, I started in 1987, and at that time, the Momentary Lapse of Reason tour had started, and they only had two singers, Rachel McFury and Machan Taylor. And they wanted to do some live concert videos. And as David put it, he wanted to add some color. And so he asked I'm so not joking. And so he asked the man, Michael Pilo, who ran the production company, if he knew any Black singers. And Michael recommended me and Lorelei. And well, I recommended Lorelei actually, because Lorelei, he knew Lorelei. And I happened to be in New York singing on Lorelei's album. She was recording a solo album for Capitol Records. And Nile Rodgers, who's a friend of the family, was producing it.
Yeah.
So we had all this newly recorded stuff to send them as an example of how we blended together. And then she also recommended our friend Roberta Freeman. And they looked at our pictures and heard our voices and said, right, come down to Atlanta. We did those concert videos. And subsequently, because they needed someone to sing Bottom, they asked me to join the tour. And David really likes my voice. So he just kept asking me.
Yeah. And you kept saying yes.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Oh, it made a gig out of it. You know what I mean?
I did.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to come see you do your own music, especially if it's social consciousness, because I'm trying to inspire people, great singers to write social conscious music, because we need some good news.
We do.
Just want to know, really, for our viewers and listeners, if there's any kind of social media presence you've got that you can give us, or any kind of website that they can go off and see what you're up to.
Oh yeah, I gotta let everybody know though, I am extremely political right now because I feel like I need to be. Yeah. I have two different main pages on Facebook. I have my personal page and my professional page. It's Durga McBroom. Instagram is Durga Diva. Twitter, X, which I don't use that much anymore, is at Mrs. Durga McBroom. But check me out on Insta and Facebook. That's where I live.
All right.
Bless up, sister. Namaste. Stay.
So good to meet you.
And to you too.
Thanks for joining us.
Music can save the world. Music can save the world. If we all get together, music can save the world. Yeah. Music can save the world. Music can save the world. If we all come together, music can save the world. There's an urgency facing our humanity.
Thank you so much for watching. To stay up to date, please click subscribe and hit the bell. You can also join our group on Facebook and find us on LinkedIn and Instagram.